audience uses social media? Come on, Instagram, TikTok, anything. Who of you has also seen an influencer or a content creator advertise for a brand? Through stories, yeah, exactly. So it's all around us, it's there, it's where we are hanging out on social media. And then the question is, who do we actually blame when that sustainable brand is actually not really sustainable and greenwashing? Do we put it on the influencer? Do we put it on the brand? What's their responsibility in it? So today's conversation is really going to be about the responsibility between brands almost and content creators. So for that, I've invited two industry representatives, so to say. We have Hannes Weber here. He's fond of corporate responsibility, aka also Chief Responsibility Manager at a brand. Maybe you know pinqponq, so that's from the basic GmbH Limited. And then we have a representative for models, ethical influencers, content creators in that sense, Kiko Hirakawa, and she also is founder of Ethical Models and Agency. So really having a lot of stake in it. Welcome.
Thanks.
Hi. Thank you, perfect. So much engagement here, great. I want to ask you first, what pops up when I say responsibility? Is it more like a, yeah, I got this, or more of like an, ah, oh, fuck? Like what comes up? First word. Maybe you want to start? Yeah.
It's rather, oh fuck, as you said. I think it's a really wide word. And someone from the talk before also said that sustainability in itself is a very big word. And I think that responsibility is similar because it's nothing, for example, if we talk about organic, right, it's easy, it can be certified, but what's responsible and what's sustainable, that's something, it's so big and it's not easy to answer. So when I talk about responsibility for us at pinqponq, for example, we take it always as a sort of due diligence step, and we see it as what can we do to improve things. We know that we will never be perfect, but it's about seeing what can we do, what can we afford as well, because it's always costly. And yeah, but it's I mean, I could probably talk for hours about this because it's from A to Z. There's so many topics we could talk about, but I really think that if you ask me what would be our responsibility, I would really say it's our due diligence to see what is our impact in what we do. So it's always about what we do, and then see where can we improve and what can we afford in doing this. Yeah.
And how about you, Kiko? When I say responsibility, you have it.
Well, I try to be responsible for the messages that I'm spreading on my platform and in my modeling work. I have been modeling for about 12 years, but about 5 years ago, I came up with the concept of, I guess, ethical modeling, you know, in a way that I work with ethical and sustainable brands, and I also try to use my voice for positive change. And for this, yeah, I'm responsible for the messages that I'm speaking about. For example, I am passionate about model rights in the fashion industry because there are a lot of unethical practices in the fashion industry. And I am responsible for the brands that I'm working with. I'm responsible for the content that I'm creating on my platform.
So how it usually works in the industry when you're a content creator or influencer is that maybe brands contact you, they send you a brief and they say, hey, we have this new collection, do you want to advertise it? It's vegan and green and 100% natural. And then maybe you question it, maybe you don't, so there's almost that dilemma already in communication. I want to ask you, Kiko, as well, when you get these emails of collaborating with brands, how do you screen, do you select, how does that process look for you?
I do think it's different for every single content creator, every single influencer, because in the end, it comes down to what values you as a person. So I always want to respect that as a founder of my ethical model agency, and I'm not here to change people. I'm here to inspire others. And for me, when I ask myself this question, I would like to advocate for fair and vegan and sustainable fashion, but I do know that we live in a world where we don't have like access to all these amazing brands yet. So I always ask myself, okay, what's okay for me and what's not okay for me, and I stick to it. So to answer your question, it's different. It's case by case, and it depends on my values. Yeah.
Yeah. And also as a question for both of you, do you feel like there's more pressure to show that you're responsible as both a brand and a content creator? And if so, where's the pressure coming from mostly? Because I know, like, we all are consumers, we're trying to pressure, especially everyone attending here, wanting to be more sustainable, but is it the media landscape? Is it really the individual follower? Do you get inbox messages, emails, hate mails? Like, what's happening? Where's the pressure coming from, really?
From many sides. So I think the biggest pressure probably from customers. So we do get regular emails from customers really asking very tough questions that we sometimes have to research for the answers. Also from retailers, for example, they ask us a lot of questions because sometimes there's retailers, they say we only have sustainable brands, and then they have their own checklist how they check if a brand is sustainable or not. And those checklists are sometimes very thorough, and and of course we want to sell our products, right? So if we want to be in their stores, we have to see that we comply with their criteria. So that's definitely one very big side, and that's changed. So I've been working for pinqponq for 6 years now, a bit more than 6 years, and during that 6 years, feedback from customers has increased so much, especially in online shops, in online retail actually. So we always get these huge questionnaires on how can you prove that your product's sustainable, how can you prove that labor conditions are good. Then, of course, also from, it's not for us, like the Supply Chain Act. I think it's been installed this year. It doesn't count for us as a brand because we're too small, but that definitely changes something. I mean, we see this, for example, that a lot of companies contact us and ask us if they can help us improving, because they now have tools to check on supply chains and so on. So that whole setup is also changing. So it's becoming easier, I think, to comply with that Supply Chain Act. So I think that would be the two, maybe the two biggest steps. But also from the company, from inside the company. So that's quite interesting because when the company was started, it wasn't supposed to be a company, a sustainable company, so to say. But at some point we started working with rather sustainable fabrics or recycled fabrics, and that started attracting people that wanted to work in a sustainable company. And so it sort of grew from itself that the company became more and more sustainable. Yeah, and so it's a pressure from our colleagues as well.
Yeah. Do you have a thought? Otherwise,
I just was gonna add, I don't necessarily feel pressure from brands that I get emails from, but I do feel some sort of pressure from my followers, or when it comes to social media, I guess, to be perfect, to be 100% ethical, 100% sustainable, 100% vegan, which, by the way, I do think it doesn't exist. I don't think in humanity, I don't really like the way of thinking of black and white. I do think we are always evolving and changing, and we are not like products. You know, a product can be 100% vegan, but we cannot be 100% of something. So I have this pressure, yes, but I try not to care. I try to let it go, yes.
I like that. I try not to care. I wish I could do that more. So everyone who was listening to the talk before, it was perfect. Malcolm already mentioned like the responsibility, and also I think it was Christian saying that Finn Kliman and the whole scandals and conversations happening right now. So there's definitely that in society. We see that investigative journalism cancels big names, big brands that say they are sustainable, they claim certain things, and then it doesn't happen. And then, as a reaction to that, for example, Luisa Dellert, she then cancelled the contract with that brand. And then if we zoom a little bit out, Finn Kliman, maybe some of you heard of it as well, he's been claiming to do things producing in Portugal, but in the end it was a production based in Bangladesh with not so ethical circumstances. So when we prepared the panel, we were like, wow, we're really like spot on in the timing right now. And you're already laughing. Could that happen to pinqponq? Could it be like a journalist comes and is like, we figured something out, mwahaha. Like,
I hope it doesn't happen and it cannot happen. I mean, it's really difficult. When I read those stories, that's what I think. I think, okay, hopefully we didn't claim anything wrong, because it's really not that simple. And I mean, for you, it must be very tough to really screen brands and see who's responsible and who's not, because it's not easy. I mean, everyone believed in the story of Goldbeck, for example. I mean, people want to believe in those stories as well. I think that's one part. But then, on the other hand, what we're trying to do is to be honest, on the one hand, and not to promise too much. So we actually try to never say we're perfect, we're sustainable. Of course, I mean, sometimes it happens that I mean, there might be someone in social media and then they say something I wouldn't approve. That happens from time to time. We had one rather funny moment where one of our marketing guys, he was setting up a booklet, and he was passing it on to me for a final check, and it said in the booklet, "We don't use any chemicals." And I was like, how can we not use chemicals? It's made of plastics, the whole product. So it's just chemicals. And so that kind of stuff happens from time to time. And it's not always so easy to check on everything. So what we are trying internally is to educate our staff and tell them what would be 100% sustainable. Doesn't exist, in my opinion, but what would be a better option? How can we communicate this? And I think it's also on our responsibility to educate people and say, like, our behavior isn't perfect, and we could try and do this and that more. So for example, we have a booklet that we publish every year based on what we do, and we always have a part in it saying, this is what we don't do, and we would like to do it, but we can't. For example, we never say we have fair remuneration in our what do you call it, in the factories, like where our products are being produced, because it's not there. I mean, it's really not something easy to do. We would like to do it. It would cost us a lot of money. We're on it. We're looking for ideas, for solutions, but it's not there. So what we're trying to do, to answer your question, is to sort of stay humble and to really tell people why we can't do certain things and why we want to do it, but we can't do everything.
Yeah, thanks. And Kiko, do you feel like cancel culture could attack you because you've worked with a label? How would that be a scenario that's realistic, and how would you feel about that as well?
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, like, I think it's really good that you're being transparent and showing your will to change. I think it's very important. And what was the question? So,
yeah,
so sorry.
If there's like the risk of cancel culture canceling you as an influencer, if that has ever happened, that someone is like, oh, you've worked with this brand and it's only 80% vegan.
Okay.
How dare you?
Well, I'm not perfect. Like I said, I'm currently modeling mainly, so I work with my agencies in Germany and France, and sometimes in the Netherlands and Japan as well. I'm originally from Japan. And in my modeling work, it's not perfect. And but like I said, I'm responsible for the messages I'm spreading on my social media, so I'm not sharing these brands because I'm not proud of, or I'm not promoting these brands, and so I try to be in control of the kind of message I'm spreading, and
so that's when you are doing modeling jobs for
like
non-sustainable
commercials or runways. For example, I'm participating in Paris Fashion Week, but it's not our job, like model's job, to choose brands. It's the designers that choose you. So you can't say like, I don't want to work for you, and it's like you're totally gonna be kicked out. And for me, I do believe that every single situation there's lessons to learn. And like I said, I'm passionate about model rights, and I want to change this industry for the better. And I want to I want to raise awareness about how to treat models better and how to learn to respect models as they are. And this is very important for me because we always try to change others when, we can be perfectly imperfect.
Yeah.
And
I see it a bit that like on the brand representative side, it's all about transparency and honesty and being like, hey, we're here, but we're not here. We're doing this, but we're not doing this. And then maybe in your case as an individual, it's more about your curation and your collection. You may be on a runway show for something that's not sustainable, but then you decide not to talk about it, which I find interesting. There's like that dynamic. Yeah.
And even then, like I always try to talk to designer, for example, and like have you I don't know, consider maybe not like that, but like, do you know there are dead stocks like that you can use for your next collection and something like this? And I have tried this before, and I got to talk to a Dutch designer and at Paris Fashion Week, and he said he's gonna use upcycle materials next time, which I thought was great because we tend to in sustainable fashion, I feel. Like we tend to, stay in our bubble. It's very easy, and because we feel comfortable, we don't like human beings to be outside of our bubbles. Actually, it's like your community and your nationality and culture and everything. But I personally, yes, I like my bubbles, yes, but I also like to put myself out there and try to spread this message in a very kind and loving and engaging way. And this is what I also try to do, I guess. Yeah.
And just before we're already wrapping up, there's my last question for both of you, namely if there's anything the audience can take with them for now, whether they have a brand, whether they communicate on social media, is there anything where they can think of responsibility? And you guys can already think of 1 or 2 questions you want to ask us.
I think it's important for customers to ask those critical questions because, as you asked before, where does the pressure come from? It comes from everybody. It comes from every corner, actually. So keep on asking those questions, and that helps improve us as well. And because if that doesn't happen, there's basically no reason for us to improve, right? Because in the end, we have to sell products, and if people say they are not up to their values and they don't buy it, then of course we have to change. And I think that's probably the thing that I would like to pass on. And for people who have brands, I can only say that it's easy probably to trick people and to say that you're 100% responsible or vegan or whatever. It's really not hard to fake those things. But I think it's about honesty, and it's about staying humble and about educating customers about what can be done better, and maybe also to show where the whole industry is going in a wrong direction. Because it's not only about one brand, it's always about the whole industry.
Thank you. Do you have a final thought to share?
I guess as a content creator, as an influencer, I think it's very important if you are starting this kind of business, then it's important that you ask yourself questions like, what are your boundaries? Setting boundaries, I believe, is very, very important. Like clear and strong boundaries for your work. It's like in private life as well, it's important to create healthy and strong boundaries for yourself. But I do think that in work, like, especially as an individual, it's easy for brands to kind of disrespect your boundaries. So knowing your boundaries and sticking to them, it's very important, I would say.
Beautiful, thank you. Any questions from the audience? Yes, there you go. Blue shirt. Thank you.
Hi, I have a question towards cancel culture and brand cancel culture, kind of, because cancel culture can work very, very quick, actually. I mean, it's not a sustainable issue, but there was kind of an invention where they invented a glove where women can take out like kind of the tampons and stuff, and like it got cancelled, like I think in 2 days or something, and they were like, I'm sorry, we don't do it again. But that's an issue. So I had the feeling like the people who are on social media, they have this power, or sometimes they don't, because you can just take out one product, but the structure is still the same, Oh no, sorry, we put a monkey on a shirt, so we take this off, but all the others are still made the same way. Is there also a brand cancel culture? So you can call other brands, you're like, hey, because you know each other, I guess, so at some point, at some level, and it's like, hey, we heard, we saw whatever, that's not cool, like stop it or something, or is this like not happening because it's like, it's not good for friendships, and and so it's only kind of also pressure coming from the customer who is like, we don't buy anymore if you don't do something nice, kind of. Yeah, that's the question.
So it's true. We do know each other, like in the industry, but we say that we don't do this. Like we never blame any other brands of doing something wrong. Sometimes we know that it's wrong. Yeah, for example, we had the example of Gottbeck, for example, and we knew that it can't be true because we know what exists on the market and what doesn't. But we wouldn't blame them, for example, because I don't know. It's not our ethics to do that. It's just something that we decided not to do, even with our biggest competitors. When they something that is obviously not true, we don't want to have like a battle between those brands because it can be pretty exhausting, I guess.
Thanks so much. Round of applause for our two guests. Thanks for being here. Kiko, Hannes, thank you.